So when it comes to decimals, we have some shortcuts when we're multiplying by powers of 10 greater than 1 or less than 1. So I wanted to do just a quick review of how you could multiply by powers of 10 greater than 1 and then again less than 1. Okay? So topic 2, multiplying decimals by powers of 10. So powers of 10 greater than 1 are numbers like 10, 100, 1,000, and so on. So basically 1 followed by nothing but zeros. Those are powers of 10. Okay? Now, steps for multiplying by decimals by powers of 10 greater than 1. You count the zeros in the power of 10, and then all you have to do is move your decimal to the right the same number of places as there are zeros in the power of 10. So for each zero in the power of 10, you get to move your decimal to the right once. Okay? So it's a nice little shortcut. It can be a handy thing to know. Okay, so for example 3, it says find each product, and we have for part A 1.985 times 10,000. So how many zeros do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So that tells me I can move my decimal 4 times to the right. So just for the sake of room, I'm going to move this down here. Now I can move my decimal 1, 2, 3. I need to go ahead and move it another fourth time. So if you go beyond the end of your decimal, just add a 0. So if we take 1.985 times 10,000, that's the same as 19,850. Okay, so let's practice one more time, but this time we have to be really careful with our signs. Okay, so we have negative 47.026. We're going to multiply that by negative 100. So remember, when you multiply two negatives, you get a positive product. Okay, so my power of 10 is negative 100. It has two zeros. Each of those zeros, I can move my decimal one place. So I can move my decimal a total of 2 times, which makes it 47,026. So we get 4,702.6. Okay? And then if you're dealing with powers of 10 less than 1, those might be like not as familiar to us. So powers of 10 less than 1 are like zero point 0.1, 0.01, 0.001. So a decimal with zeros ending in a 1. So it would be like 1/10, 1/100th, 1,000th, 1/10,000th. All right, so that's really what you're multiplying by. So if it helps to think of it like a fraction, knock yourself out, okay? So steps for multiplying decimals by powers of 10 less than 1. We count the decimal places in the power of 10, so the number of digits after the decimal point, and then move the decimal to the left the same number of places as there are decimal places in your power of 10. So it's kind of like dividing by a power of 10, which essentially moves the decimal to the left, all right? So for example 4, it says find each product, and we have 362 times 0.0001, which is 1/10,000th. Okay. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 decimal places. That tells me I can move my decimal to the left 4 times. Okay. So let's think about this. 362, it doesn't look like it has a decimal at all. But remember, we can always add a decimal point and then a 0, and then we've got the decimal, okay? So I want to move my decimal to the left 4 times. So I'm going to go back 1, 2, 3, and then I have to go one more time. Then I can put in a decimal, and if there's an extra space, add a 0. So we would say this equals 0.0362. You don't really need this 0 at the end. You can chop it off, okay? Now, finally, for part B, we have negative 25.98 times zero point 0.1. Now, if you multiply a positive and a negative, that's always going to be a negative. So this is going to equal negative something, okay? Now, zero point 0.1 has only one decimal place. So that tells me I can only move my decimal to the left one time. So I end up with negative 2.598. And that's it. So if you find yourself feeling uncomfortable with the shortcuts of multiplying by powers of 10, that's okay. You can still multiply by powers of 10 greater or less than 1 traditionally, but these little shortcuts can be time savers, okay? Now, one other thing I do want to actually, I just thought of this. You can also multiply by multiples of powers of 10. So let's say that we had 5,000 times like 12, okay? So if you have multiples of powers of 10, so like 5 times 1,000, 1,000 being the power of 10, so 5,000 is a multiple of that. What I can do here is I could take this 12 and multiply it by this 5. So 5 times 12 is 60, and then I just add the zeros that were in my power of 10. I just bring them down. Okay, so you can also multiply by multiples of powers of 10 using these shortcuts. Okay?